are on episode 21 of the podcast. We still have a long way to go, but let's celebrate our small wins. Yesterday, I realized that I have been doing this for 20 plus days and I haven't said anything related to product or UX or tech, and I'm a tech babe. So today, I'm going to be talking about one of the most annoying research methods that people do and why I find it annoying, even though it's a good method, but people do it in an annoying way. And I'm going to talk about how to actually get value from it as well. Alright, so I'm going to be talking about competitive analysis. A lot of people are always doing competitive analysis. If you look at almost any startup pitch deck, you will see a table of them and their competitors and all the features that they have that their competitors don't have. Competitive analysis is one of the more common research methods that people are familiar with for designers and product managers, especially product managers and founders, and other people who do any kind of research. User interviews, they do like an annual state of user research survey, and in their 2023 survey, 44% of people who responded to the survey all use competitive analysis in their work, at least often. And the thing that I find annoying about competitive analysis is that people are always doing feature comparisons. And I think that is like the least useful way of doing competitive analysis, like just making a list of the other companies and products that you consider to be competitors, and then making a list of features and then putting check marks for which products have which features and which one doesn't. I think that doesn't actually really tell you much. It can tell you something on the level of what features do we have that our competitors don't have, and what features don't we have that our competitors have. But I don't think that is a good enough basis to make business and product decisions like, oh, all our competitors have this feature, so we're going to add it. Like, it seems very weird to me. It seems like keeping up with the Joneses, and everybody's always saying don't keep up with the Joneses. So why do product and business people do it? And it seems to be a good thing when they do it, because you're just copying and pasting, and your business model is competitor driven. Let's just do what our competitors are doing instead of actually providing value to people. And if you work in products, you probably heard somebody say, "Oh, we should do this because that other product has it." The problem is that you don't know why that product has whatever they have. You don't know if it's working. You don't know if their customers asked for it. You don't know if they did any research. You don't know what goals they had that led them to creating that feature or that or building an app or whatever thing that you want to copy. You don't know if it's successful. And the most common thing is apps. Like, oh, all our computers have apps. So, and they have like 1 million downloads. Okay, but do people actually use the app after they download it, or did they just install it and uninstall it? You don't know all these things. You don't know their activation and engagement rates. You don't know anything, only that they have this feature that you don't have. You don't know if they're doing any research, getting any feedback, and you don't know if you're even dealing with the same core audience. Like, yes, you may be targeting the same general broad audience, but like in this specific, so for example, all of you may be targeting creators, but what if you're more focused on video creators and they're more focused on audio creators, like YouTubers? You're focused on YouTubers and they're focused on podcasters. Like, think about it. Okay, so now that I've gone on this rant about why you shouldn't do feature comparison as the only form of research that you're doing, and it's because innovation isn't just copying what other people are doing or what they've done. It really comes from understanding the problems and possibilities in a space. So if you want to get something useful out of looking at what your competitors are doing, there are much better ways to do that. Number one, and it's one of the low cost ways to do this, is to look at app store reviews and social media. Everybody complains about things on social media, or they talk about things they like on social media as well. And app store reviews are a treasure trove. Like, there's so much useful things in app store reviews, and I feel like people don't pay enough attention to their app store reviews. Like, people put things that they want, things that they hate, things that they can't find that exist in the app. So you're looking at complaints, requests, discoverability issues, usability issues, other kinds of feedback that can be useful for your product decision making process. So instead of just looking at the rating, because I also see that in competitive analysis quote unquote documents that people have, is like, our app has a rating of 4.7 and our competitors have a rating of 4. Okay, but what does that mean practically? Like, what things makes people rate your app higher than the other app? right? So go beyond the ratings and look at the content of the reviews, where there are any specific additional details in the reviews. And there are tools that allow you export all that data and do whatever analysis you want to do on there. And you can find even quantifiable insights in there. I've also written about all of this, of course, and I'm going to put the link to the article in the show notes, where you can see all the other links as well. Another thing that you can do that is somewhat more expensive than looking at App Store reviews and social media posts and doing some social listening is competitive interviews. So in competitive interviews, you're deliberately recruiting people who use your competitor products. And this is very helpful because it helps you know, you can do things like awareness research, preference research, and things like that to know why are people using those competitor products. Have they ever even heard of your product? What they like about those products, what they don't like, and so on. And it's basically like your regular interview, but this time your target audience is the people who do not use your products, but use competitor products. And you can get ideas for things to ask from things like the App Store reviews, like I mentioned earlier. Okay, so those were the qualitative approaches that I spoke about. And now we'll talk now about two quantitative approaches that you can use. Number one, surveys. Surveys are also relatively low cost. And usually I'm not a fan of surveys. That is a whole other podcast episode of it on its own. But they can be very useful for competitive analysis when you're looking at self-reported behaviors and attitudes, like what do people know about your products? That's like awareness, discoverability, desirability, those kinds of things. And examples of questions you can ask is like, which of these products have you heard of? And you can put your competitors, your products, and even some random products that have nothing to do with your competitors and your products. You can also ask about what they've used in the past. Like, there's so many ways you can do that. You can do a feature you can look at features from your feature comparison table and create like a Kano survey or a MaxDiff survey to help you with decision making and feature prioritization. Then you can also look at like some standardized surveys like the System Usability Score survey and things like that to help you understand, actually compare your products on useful things that are useful to your customer, like usability, user experience, and the like. Then a more expensive quantitative approach will be competitive usability testing or competitive benchmarking, which is, again, basically doing your regular usability testing and benchmarking. But this time, you are doing that with people who use your competitor products on your competitor products. To do this successfully, you will need to think about the key tasks that your product has in common with the competitors that you want to compare with, and determine like who you want to recruit to do this. You want people who have no experience with any of these products but are in the target audience, or do you want people who are your users or your competitor product users? And then you need to decide whether you want to do it within study or between study. That's between design. Within is when you use like all the same participants for all the tests for all the products, versus between when you use different participants for the different products. And then you'll be looking at quantitative metrics. So it could be perception of the user, like maybe ease of use, and it could also be performance metrics such as like success rates, error rates, and so forth. And you can also, of course, always collect qualitative feedback in these sessions as well. So yes, with competitive research, you can do way more than just look at a table of features you have versus what your competitors don't have, or the worst, which is NPS, which is also another rant that is for a different podcast episode. Surveys are not terrible, but like people generally don't create surveys well. Survey design is an actual skill. You don't just dump a couple of questions and say you have done a survey. And NPS is just a problem. Like, that's a whole other episode. But yeah, competitive analysis can do more than just comparing your NPS scores and your features, and you can get more in-depth, useful things that you can actually base your product and business decisions on, not just what other people are doing. Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. Keep up with your users, not the Joneses. Okay. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of A Couple of Things. If you enjoyed this episode or found any part of it insightful, don't forget to share with your friends on your social media, and be sure to leave a comment or a review if you can on your podcast listening app. Thank you.